Hi again then guys, and welcome to another Forza Horizon 3 speed setup, and this time we've got a brand new Porsche on the game. Of course, you could win this car briefly from the Forzathon. Of course, I did. And this is, to be honest, the only Porsche that I really care about on any game. The Porsche Carrera GT. It's pretty unique as far as Porsche goes. It's not a boxer engine, it's a V10. It was initially developed to be a Le Mans race car, but then ultimately ended up being a supercar. It's just an awesome machine. It's kind of infamous, of course. It's linked to Paul Walker's death, among other things, but it's known for being a hardcore, not beginner-friendly, totally unforgiving, but brilliant supercar. And of course, like the Lexus LFA, everyone loves the way it sounds. Now, speaking of the way this car sounds, I've actually built two different setups for this vehicle, because I personally love the V10 engine, but I suspected that that probably wouldn't give you the best performance, and that's true. The best performance comes from the Porsche 918's V8 hybrid layout. That gives you a lot more power, and both tune setups are on my storefront. Now, if you, like me, prefer the V10 version does 267 miles per hour. As you'll see, of course, on the benchmark in just a second. The hybrid engine version, which is also on my storefront, does 269. And I believe, if memory serves, the acceleration may be fractionally quicker. But the most important thing, of course, for these builds is that top-end performance. So that car is quicker, and also the point system is higher as well. It's like 992, so it's quite a bit higher. Personally, I prefer the V10, but of course it's down to personal preference. Now, I would recommend all-wheel drive, of course, once you've decided whichever engine you want to go for, and again, aspiration, regardless of the engine, you want to go for the twin-turbo. As far as visuals, it's down to you. I wouldn't recommend the front or rear wing. You could change the rims. I personally like the stock ones. As you can see, I've gone for Horizon race tyres and basically fit everything with race in the title. You don't, though, necessarily need to have the roll cage. You don't really need that. You could fit it if you want to, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Now, as I said, we are working with the V10 version, and as you can see, fractionally quicker than 2.1 to 60, then 3.8 to 100, similar specs on the hybrid engine version, top end speed of 267, as I said, 269 on the hybrid version, and either way, it's extremely quick. Now, as far as the gearbox, you can actually use this exact gear setup for both. This same setup will give you 269 on the hybrid engined version. So if you don't want to get it from the storefront and you'd rather do it yourself, then just go for these same numbers. Now, speaking of those numbers, the final drive is, as you can see, 3.4. Then we've got individual gears of 2.9, 2, 1.5, 1.18, 0.96, and 0.79. Then, as far as alignment, I've gone for neutral, camber, and tow. You don't really need to have those on this car unless you specifically want some. I've gone for 4 degrees of caster. That suits my driving style perfectly. If you want to go higher or lower, though, that's totally down to you, of course. Anti-roll I've rounded off to 20, front and rear. Springs should be rounded off, I'm not sure why they're not. Rounded off to 115 and also 195. I'm not sure why they changed. They should have been set on that already. Then for the ride height, I've opted for the lowest possible. Obviously, that's down to personal preference. As far as dampers, we've got those on 10, 15, 5 and 7. Then as far as the differential, the diff, we've got 100% on acceleration, 0 on decel, and a 75% split in favour of the back end. So it's not as tail happy as you might expect it to be. Usually we go 80-85% for a car like this, but not quite as much. One of the reasons for that is for that exact reason. I didn't want it to be overly slippery through corners. Personally, I like the mix that we've got of both. But again, it's down to personal preference. So that's it for the build. Now let's take it out on the road to see if it can actually hit that speed. Now, overall, of course, with a vehicle like the Carrera GT, which is already an extremely quick car, it's no surprise to say that it's really quick. The top-end performance is very high, but so is the top-end speed on quite a few other cars which aren't necessarily even supercars. But the big advantage that a supercar will generally have is that they get to that speed much more quickly. And that is the case with the Carrera GT. You absolutely fly up to 260. I believe it accelerates a little bit quicker for top-end performance with the hybrid engine, so it depends what you want. If you're more focused on performance, I would recommend the hybrid. If you want more of a true nature to the original car, if you want to, well, enjoy the V10 more, then go for that one. But either way, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. And of course, you can use the keywords down below to find it on my storefront. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.